Here we have a pre-owned 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E GT. This one comes in the pearl white, and then we have the black ActiveX Alcantara interior. And then we have two electric motors, one on each axle, paired to a direct speed drivetrain. And we get 480 horsepower, 600 pound-feet of torque. So coming around to the front end here, LED daytime running lights along with LED headlamps, and they don't flash like that. That's just how the camera's picking it up. But I wanted to review this one after just about 16,000 miles. Hit something on the side here just a little bit. There's a few scratches here and there, but yeah, the 20-inch wheels there. And I'm curious if this is the first set of tires or not. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's not. But this is how you open the door, hit that button and pull. Power door lock controls are here, memory seat functions are here. It's pretty easy, just set it and then hold the button. And then you have your one-touch automatic up and down windows on all four doors. Power mirror controls are here, you can adjust those there. Power folding mirrors with blind spot monitors. And then you can electronically lock your rear doors or your rear windows there. You pull that to open the door. Bottle holder here, decent sized storage in the door panel for this kind of car. And we do have this B&O premium sound system. And then we have our headlamp controls here, off, corners, automatic, and then we have them all the way on. Brightness for the gauge cluster, traction control, and then hit this twice to pop the frunk. And then you can tilt and telescope your steering wheel manually. And then here's our power driver's seat with two-way power lumbar. And the Alcantara actually feels pretty nice. I think that's Alcantara. I might be suede. I always get them confused. But I have that seat up front adjusted for someone of my size, being 6'3" with longer legs. So we're gonna check out the leg room here. So I'm pretty sure I know what it's gonna be like. So knees, probably about you could probably slide a sheet of paper between my kneecaps and the back of the seat, but it's not touching it. And we do have seat back pockets on both sides. Then we have a USB-C and a USB-A charge port down in here. Rear AC vents are here. And then cup holders are right there. Now this one does not have the roof that mine has. I have a Mach-E California Route 1. You can probably hang 2-3 hangers on that hook. They're skinny enough. But still, I want to test out the performance on this one. I've driven a GT performance, but I haven't driven just the standard GT. Speaking of which, let me check out the charge port because I won't get back to it. But you can get up to 150 kilowatts fast charge speed here, DC fast charging, or it'll take you about 10 hours to charge it from about empty. Coming around to the back end here, LED tail lights. They don't flash like that again, that's just the camera picking them up, but they look really good at night. And one thing I wish I did have on my California Route 1 is this power lift gate here. I don't have that there, but the charger's here, and this person had a 220 like I did, hooked up to their mobile charger. And then underneath here, have a tire inflator kit. But I don't know why this isn't on here right. And there's a 12 volt here, and a little pocket on the side. You can keep things from flying around that you want to keep in the trunk. Always a must for me. You can see just a little bit of wear from throwing stuff in the back. There's a quick look underneath. But I do like this pearl white. I just don't like it as much as I like the red that mine's in. But if you want to fold the seat down, push this button here. That'll fold flat. You can run longer objects from the back to the front. And they're pretty easy to lock back into place to make sure the seatbelt's not in the way, because it likes to get caught up there. But about the B&O sound system, it's pretty good. It's better than the stock system I have, but I have subs in mine, and I feel like I like that better. This is more in your face, but it's just not, it's not as good in my opinion as I would like it to be. But same power adjustability on the front passenger side with the lumbar support. And then glove compartment here. Pretty good size. Then we do have that run through. You can put stuff down in here. I put my lotion and all of that there. But yeah, I just wish the B&O sound system would have been, if it would have popped more, I feel like I'd be more pleased, but it's just loud. It's not necessarily as good as it could be. But there's a storage pocket in the front. Sorry, something just flew in my eye. But I do love that front end there. I love where the grill would be. I like how that looks compared to the lower trim levels like mine. Let's go ahead and hop in here. So we do get the ActiveX wrap steering wheel, which feels pretty nice, and I actually like driving with this. It's nice and soft as opposed to traditional leather, and I feel like it won't wear as badly. But over here we have that, what is it? Is it portrait? Yeah, the portrait tablet here. And we can go between AM, FM, and XM up there. And then we also have Bluetooth audio, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto compatibility, which I love. And the system is pretty good about 95% of the time. And then every so often it'll do something gimmicky, which is super annoying. Here recently, probably like 90% of the time, mine has about almost 40,000 miles on it. And the screen still works great, but every so often it does something that you could tell, like an update or something made it worse. But you can go ahead and go through your sounds here, tone settings, balance and fade. And then here's where you can go between your drive modes: whisper, engage, unbridled. And then you can go to unbridled extended there. And what that does is it kind of puts you into a track mode if you're going to be giving a lot of throttle around corners and all that. And then one pedal drive, which I love. And then the automatic brake hold is on as well. But driver assistance, this is where you go if you want to go ahead and turn your cruise control off from adaptive to regular. The lane keeping system, if you want to toggle with that, and make sure that's on. And then you can go to Blue Cruise from there. And then I like the animation here on the screen, especially with the XM stations, how it shows you all of that. You have games available. And then the 3-stage auto AC controls there. So you can toggle the AC temperature here, and then to actually control the fan speed, you hit this here and you turn it down and up from the knob. And that came through an update. You used to have to just do this and then scroll up and down. And then here you can decide where the airflow is coming from, toggle the heat, and then you can set your dual mode on, and then you can control that passenger side without having to mess with the driver's side. And then 3-stage heated seats here, again, with a dial where it used to be you just scrolled up and down, which I'm glad they did that, but it's not all rosy. Now, to put it in reverse, you have your backup camera, guidelines follow you as you turn the steering wheel. And then you have your sensors forward and back. And then you do have a front camera, and that comes on when you get super close to something in front of you. Then you have your navigate to parking as well. Parking sensors toggle and all that. Can't talk today. But that's pretty much it from the screen. There's a lot that you can do. But I mean, with wireless Apple CarPlay, I don't ever use this navigation. It's okay, but I prefer the maps on my phone better. But you can set up your work, home, chargers, all that. And down here you have a USB-C, USB-A charge port, and then you can actually run CarPlay and Android Auto wired through here, I believe. I think I've done that a few times on accident. And then you have a wireless charging pad here, a little storage here, 2 cup holders. Then for that shifter, it's all rotary, so hit the brake, reverse, neutral drive, low gear. And when you don't have one pedal drive on, that gets you max regen. But with one pedal drive, it doesn't really do anything. And then hazards are here. Electronic parking brake, pull up to engage, hit the brake, press down to disengage. And then a little storage cubby here with a 12 volt. And then you can close all that up. Here's a view of the back seat from up here. And then the sunglasses holders here, dome lights, and then universal garage door transmitter, excuse me. And then I actually do like this, how premium the lights look and all that in that mirror. And then left side stock, the steering wheel, blinkers, high beams, toggle those on and off and you can flash. And then right side stock, windshield wiper controls, pull down for one time, then you have your auto, low, high, and then you can adjust the sensitivity of the auto wipers here, and then your rear wipers here. Pull back for that rear wiper fluid, push up for the front wiper fluid. And then you can activate your cruise control here, so that turns everything on, gap adjust for that, and then you can turn the lane keeping system on and off, and set and resume everything there. And then you can cancel here. And then to the right side, voice recognition control, Bluetooth, volume, and then track list and radio station presets are there. That's pretty much all you get with the digital gauge cluster. Nothing fancy there, which I actually like. I've gotten used to, as opposed to having a Tesla and everything's over there on the screen. But here's our push button start. And here is the key fob. And now for the fun, let's go ahead and take this 2021 Mach-E GT out on the road for a test drive. So starting my test drive in the Mach-E GT, after owning a California Route 1, I can say the only issue, I should say the biggest issue I have with these cars is the seats. The seats are not the most comfortable. They're okay in like short distances, I don't have an issue, but I have to drive every so often, about 6 hours, and that'll wear you out how these seats are made. They're not that adjustable. They're okay, but again, they're not the best. But I'm about to put my foot down right now. And the car is quick, but you really feel how fast this is from 0 to 60. So I'll try and get that going out of a stop, see if I can accelerate like that. But I have the co-pilot assist on now, so lane centering is on, adaptive cruise is on, and this makes the drive that much more comfortable, so I can actually readjust and all of that. But it's just not, like I said, if I were driving this thing long distances, I would not recommend doing it very often, because it really just starts to mess with my tailbone. But other than that, I mean, it's a great car. It makes driving so easy because it does all of the work for you. You just have to touch the steering wheel every so often, and then when you have Blue Cruise enabled, you don't even have to do that. So it's a super good system. And one pedal drive for me is a must, because that regenerative braking really comes in handy, as opposed to me having to use the brake pedal. And after an update, they did better with the brake pedal as opposed to when they first came out, but still, one pedal drive is just the way to go in my opinion. Because once you start doing it, you get used to it, and then it's really hard to get in a regular car. But this car is so quick. One thing that Ford did to kind of be safe, the same thing with the Lightning, is you don't feel that same pull like you do in a few other vehicles going from, let's say, 50 to 80 or something like that, as you do from 0 to 60 here. Because the 0 to 60s on these EVs, the Mach-E GTs and the F-150 Lightnings in general, is just, it'll take your breath away. But then I've seen a few videos of this guy that drives them on the Autobahn. You try and top them out, they only top out I think at 130, but from that 70 on up, you feel it limit itself. But still, again, for safety measures, it's really a good idea, because no one needs to be necessarily going that fast unless they're tracking it anyway. But from a stop or from a low speed, when you put your foot down, the exhilaration's nuts. And it's good for buyers now, because this one, for example, only has 16,000 miles and they've dropped like rocks. Unfortunately for owners like me, it's hard to get out of them without having negative equity, even if you didn't pay $10-15 over sticker for them. But now for pretty much all EVs that came out in 21-22, you can get a bargain. Especially if vehicles were 60 grand. I know the EQS, you can get a 102 EQS 450 Plus, and then you're only paying 70 for it, so around 70, 75, and that's low miles. So it's a good time to get in the market now. I feel like the hype is over as the interest rates go up, the economy starts to settle back out, and then the used car market is starting not to be as crazy. You still have a few outliers out there, like Corvettes are still going for crazy money, a few other vehicles, but for the most part, it's a good time to start looking at vehicles and getting a deal on one. But final thoughts about this car. I love the Mach-E. Like I said, the biggest issue for me, especially if you don't have the GT performance with the ride damping, is going to be the ride as well as the seats, because they'll shake the heck out of you. But it really just makes for that authentic Mustang feel when you're driving and you feel like you have full control of the vehicle. But with all this being said, this will bring me to the end of my review of this 2021 Mustang Mach-E GT.